Hey guys, welcome back to the Figure Pick channel. So today we are taking a look at body replacements for the Trick or Treat Studios 78 Michael Myers. Dean, we've obviously seen a lot of you tinkering and your experiments. We've seen a lot of that from you, so I'm very interested to see your opinion on these bodies. The basic idea is that the Trick or Treat, we're going to go into detail, but the stock body is not great. I mean, it's worth noting that for the price point, you can't really complain, and it's going to look good on a shelf. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to have it in a museum pose, it's going to look fine. But if you really want to get some better poses and have it looking a bit more accurate, you really do want to replace the body. So that's what we're looking at today.
Well, all the things that you want, really. I mean,
yeah. What are your criteria as the expert? What are you looking for?
Well, basically you want the arms to be a bit more flush to his body, which the Trick or Treat body can't really do that. It's got a little bit over bulky. He's way too muscly to be Nick Castle from 78. Nick Castle, the reason John Carpenter wanted him in the end, I mean, it was kind of, they were friends, and he called him up and said, "What are you doing today? Why don't you come and wear the mask and be the bad guy in the movie?" But he wasn't a built guy. He was 5'10". And just a regular guy. And John Carpenter said that's what was scary about it, because it wasn't some big hulking beast. It was just a regular guy who went psycho and put the mask on and did what he did. But the legs don't really go too close together either.
Well, we'll go into a bit more detail on all of these bodies, but you just can't. That's as far apart as they're ever going to be. So.
So, a little bit too muscly, arms don't go flush, legs don't close, colour's a bit weird.
Very tan.
He's very, very tan, very dark skin for Michael Myers. And yeah, man, just, you got 4 different bodies here. You got number 1, obviously, we'll start and go along. So you got the Trick or Treat stock body, and then the second one with the Figure Pit sticker covering his junk is the Worldbox AT011.
Yep.
And then you got number 3 here is the Coo Model BD009, and then number 4 on the end is the Story SS109.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly jump in here and just go on record and say that these 2 bodies here are ones that you can purchase. That is the product. It's just a body, whereas the one on the far right, that is broken down from a figure, so it's probably not going to be as readily available.
All right.
But we're obviously, the whole point of this video is to determine which one of these bodies is the best one to use for your Trick or Treat Studios Myers. So
we got all the gear down here. You got the head sculpt, you got the coveralls, and you got the knife and the hands.
And we've got a t-shirt,
you got your
not
t-shirt.
the stock one, because it's not a real t-shirt.
Of course.
I'm actually, as well as the body, I'm just upgrading my Myers in general. You can see on one of these bodies he's got some new boots, because the stock boots are a bit clown-like, as we all know. One thing that I've noticed, that I mentioned to you, Dean, is that when I put the sole to sole with my new boots, these ones here, I don't actually think that these are necessarily too long. I just think that they're too flat, which makes them look like clown shoes. They
are a little bit too flat, but the thing I've only just discovered in the last sort of 3 weeks is there was 2 different kind of styles of jungle boots. A lot of people get the platoon ones, with
the different treads.
Well, it's the tread and it's the height. Like you see how the Trick or Treat ones are very flat. They are too flat, but they shouldn't be that big either.
Right.
It's somewhere in the middle. Obviously the tread is completely different, and it's kind of in between these 2 as far as the height of the actual, the part where your toes go.
Because I did some research into this, because you sent me a photo of ones where the tread was very different.
Yeah. In the film Falling Down with Michael Douglas, he goes into an army shop in one of the scenes, and he has the exact boots. He picks them up and holds them. You get a really good shot of them.
We're going to go into detail on all of these bodies and try all the different parts on and see how it goes. One thing that I'm just going to say straight off the bat is that hands and boots aren't necessarily a problem here. With all of these bodies, you can pop the stock hands and stock boots on, so that's not really an issue. The biggest issue for me when trying to find a replacement body, obviously you need the double bend elbows. That was the biggest criteria. That's why all 3 of these replacements have that. But the other biggest criteria for me is that I don't really like bodge jobs. I don't like blue tack. I don't like things like that. I want my figure I want all the joints to connect properly and at the right height and things like that, so I don't want to have to be, doing little bodge jobs here and there to try and make it work. I want it all to actually connect properly as it should do. So that was a big criteria for me. So the length of the neck was an issue, and the length of the neck peg was an issue, because I wanted the head to actually connect to the body and at the right height. So that was one of the biggest criteria for me, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people out there as well. I'm sure a lot of people don't want to have to mess around with their figures and use different materials and things to try and make it look right. They just want everything to connect easily as it should. So that was one of the big things for me, and which was one of the things that I wanted to answer in this video, because spoiler alert, one of these bodies, in terms of how everything connects, is pretty much perfect. But we're going to go into each one and the pros and cons of each one. So should we do that now?
Yes.
Okay, so to start off, we are looking at the Worldbox AT011, and straight off the bat, what I will say about this body is that it's very heavy and durable. It's really solid. Out of all of the bodies, this one is the most solid, the most weighty. Probably has the best balance too. Has real junk, as the sticker suggests. The arms go pretty flush to the body. I mean, not fully.
You got the butterfly joint as well.
That's true. Yes, it does have a butterfly joint. Obviously, you've got the double bend elbows.
Yeah, it's a good body.
And again, out of all of these bodies, this one is the most solid. It also comes with a couple of different neck connections, so that is handy as well. I might actually try and use this longest one here. Although, actually, I don't think that one works because the ball is smaller. So like I said previously, with regards to the ankles and the wrist pegs, any of these bodies is going to be fine. If you're using stock boots, they're all going to work just fine. That's not a problem.
Peace of mind, I'm sure.
So that all works fine. Same thing with the hands. Obviously, most wrist pegs are pretty standard, aren't they? So the biggest issue for me is the head, and as you can you see in there?
Yes.
It's a very large hole.
It is.
And the issue that I have with it, it's actually not that bad. It's pretty low there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too low.
It should be here?
Yeah, about there.
So the first issue with this body is that the head sits very low. Now, like I said, it does come with different neck connectors, and there is one that is slightly longer, but I don't think that the ball is big enough. I don't know if you can see that, but it's slightly smaller
than
the one that's on there. So
blue tack it.
So that's obviously, if you're someone, I know that you're very pro blue tack, and I'm not. But if that's either way, it doesn't really matter. If you don't mind that, if you don't mind just chucking a bit of blue tack in there, then obviously this body is going to be absolutely fine. There is also, I do want to briefly go into another possible option. Say for example, someone who's maybe already bought this body. But another possible solution, you can pick these up very easily on eBay. One of these, it's just a standard neck connection. Again, buy these very easily on eBay. What you could do is maybe try and glue that in place there so that the connection is a lot lower down. So if you glue that in place or secure it somehow, then the connection is going to be much lower, and therefore the head will sit a lot higher. I mean, that's obviously, it's not fully in, so that's way too high. But you see you see my point is that there are options to make it work if you actually don't want to use blue tack and you actually want to have it connected properly and sturdily. So that is a possible option if you already have this body. So out of the three, this one is a great body. Like I said, it's the most durable, but with regards to if you want the head to sit at a proper height and properly, this one, it's not going to work as you'd like without having to use modifications. So that is the Worldbox AT011.
Excellent.
So now we are looking at the Coo Model BD009. This one is most like your kind of standard Hot Toys body, I would say, like your standard true type. It's very plasticky, very hollow, but very good. There's it's a very sturdy body, nice joints. Again, double bend elbows. One thing that's not as, in fact, I think that this is pretty much the same with all three of these bodies, perhaps not the last one we're going to look at, but certainly the one that we have just looked at. One thing that is worth noting that's going to be slightly different from the stock body is that the neck is solid.
All right.
I'm fairly certain that the stock body, so the stock body should have some movement in the base of the neck, because it's like rubber with a joint inside there, so you do get some more articulation in the neck with the stock body. You're not going to get that with these ones, unfortunately, because it's just solid plastic here, so that doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
So you are going to be losing some neck articulation, but personally I think that it's a worthwhile trade-off for the elbows. People can make up their own minds with that. But anyway, so like I said, boots, wrist pegs is not an issue with any of these bodies. The only real thing is how the head sits. And personally with this body, I think it sits at a perfect height. I mean, what are your thoughts, Dean? Because
Yeah, it looks good.
But yeah, so this body is great. You're really not going to have any real issues with this body at all that I can see. So why don't we move on?
Coo Models.
So this is the Coo Model BD009.
Pretty cool.
So finally we have the Soldier Story SS109. And I'm just going to say right away that I was debating whether we should even include this, because like I said, the other two are just, that is the product that you buy. It's a body, whereas this has come from a figure.
Yep.
Someone's parted out a figure and this is the body from it, so it's not going to be as widely available. So I was debating whether I should include it, because you might not be able to get one of these, whereas the other two you can easily get.
He's got a very thin neck peg, isn't he?
Do bear that in mind. Yeah, so this is what I want to go into now. So the pros of this body is that the joints are very nice. The arms go very flush to the body. There's very little material under here.
Yeah.
So you can get it very nice and flush.
You've got a nice kind of ratchety sound as well when you're moving them.
Yeah, ratchet. I mean, it's a very loose ratchet, but you still do have some ratcheting. So that's very nice, and again, the arms go very flush to the body. You've got really nice skin tone. This top section is rubber, so you do have more articulation in the neck, unlike the other two, and more like the stock body.
Yeah.
But the fatal downside with this body is really the neck peg, because as you can see, it's a very small peg. So you can't replace that. You have to use that stock peg, because I can't find any others that will fit. And the other issue is that it's very short, so when you pop the head on,
no, that's not good.
that's not going to work.
No.
So again, if you don't mind using something like this, like that could work.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, that's too high now, but you can. Oh, there you go. That's slightly better. Still a bit high and a bit loose. So make of that what you will. So for me personally, this body is out for that alone.
Yeah.
So it's a great body, and if you don't mind using some blue tack or something like that, it will work. But not the one.
No. So Soldier Story SS109, good, but not the one.
Not ideal. Okay, so in conclusion, I personally feel like the Coo Model body is the best. You can see the Myers is set up on the Coo Model body now. The reason that I think it's the best, the interesting thing that I think about this video is what I think people will take away from is that we both have different criteria and different things we're looking for in a replacement body. So just because I think this is the best one doesn't mean that you do, or doesn't mean that anyone else will. They might disagree with me completely and think that any of these others are better. The reason that I think that this is the best one, we can go through our own reasons actually. The reason that I think this is the best one is because they're all very slender. This is probably the thickest one out of the three, but it's minimal. Like it's still way thinner than the stock body. It's not a muscular body, it is a narrow shoulder body. So in terms of the skinniness, any one of them is going to be fine. In terms of the height, pretty much any one of them is going to be fine, because they're all roughly around the same. So that's not really an issue. The biggest issue for me was how the head sits. And with regards to that, the Coo Model is without a doubt the best, because the head, you don't need to modify it at all. It's just going to go on there. It's going to be the right height. You're not going to have to mess around with trying to make it work and make it fit on. So for me personally, I think the Coo Model BD009 is the best replacement body for the Tots 78 Myers. Dean, what are your thoughts on these bodies? Taken away from having a look at these.
Well, the Coo Model one's certainly getting it done. The head sits at the right place. Nice double bend in the elbow. He doesn't look too chunky. It's just when we were just in between these two takes here, I was noticing, I think it's the Worldbox.
Worldbox.
Yeah, I like how, because I was saying to Nick, the scene in the first film where he pins Bob to the wall and you get that quite long shot where you just see him standing there and you see his side profile. He's like, the coveralls are kind of really hanging off him. He's just clearly just a regular 5'10", no bulk to him really. And I like how kind of skinny from the side profile these other two bodies are, but you say that the Coo Models is basically the same.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, obviously you can't see now because I've put all the clothes back on, but in terms of that, if that's an issue, then any one of these is fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like which one I would settle on, I said to Nick, it's a little bit early for me to say. I'd really need to sit and try out all the different combinations and see which one I like the most, but I mean, I think this Coo Model one is certainly a great replacement for the stock body if you want your double bend and you want the head to sit at the right height and nothing's looking bulky or anything.
Yes, that is the one thing that I will say, is that, like I'm sure I've said it previously, that just because I think this is the best one doesn't necessarily mean that it is, or doesn't necessarily mean that anyone else would agree with me. But if you want a body that's just going to be easy to swap out and everything is going to connect fine and you don't have to worry about messing around with blue tack or buying extra buying extra neck sockets to get the head to sit the right height. If you just want something that's just gonna be super easy, then the Coo Model BD009 is the one to go for. The only con about this body really is that you don't have as much neck articulation because the neck is solid, so there isn't a joint at the bottom of it.
So now we've got him on a rotating base, and now that I can see the side profile, that looks fine. You know, that looks good. There's nothing jutting out. He hasn't got a big chest or anything.
No.
It's just regular.
No, like I said, we didn't really do a side profile of all of these bodies, but take my word for it there. With regards to how skinny or girthy he is, they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So that's not really a problem. That's not really something you're going to have to worry about with any body that you buy to replace.
Yeah. So folks, to make it as easy as possible for you, jump on eBay, type in Coo Model, that's COOMODEL, and then BD009. That's what you're after if you want to get yourself a good body.
That's the one that I would personally recommend. Hopefully you agree with me, Dean. Again, the Worldbox AT011 is going to be okay. It will require more work with the neck. If you want it to sit properly, it's going to require a bit more work. This one is just going to be straight out of the box. It's going to be absolutely fine. Another good thing about the Worldbox one is that it's a lot more durable. It's solid. This one is like hollow, whereas the Worldbox one is very solid. Not that really makes much of a difference, but it's going to just, be a much heavier, more durable figure.
And the legs of the coveralls are falling at a nice level. They're still a little bit too falling a bit low around the back there. You can see the sort of dragging on the ground, but just that's fractional. But
I can tell you that is the same with all of these bodies that we've looked at today. Even with the stock body, I'm pretty sure. I don't think the stock body is taller than these ones.
And it's really down to the coveralls. The sleeves could be a little bit longer, obviously, but you've got quite short sleeves but quite long legs on these coveralls, so it's a bit of you've got to muck around a little bit, but it looks good.
I should also say that the boots and the t-shirt are not.
Obviously
this is mine now, fully upgraded mine. Real t-shirt, better boots, better body. And I think it's a massive improvement. And one thing that's worth pointing out though is any of this really necessary for the price point? If you just want a Myers that you can pop in a museum pose or light posing, I don't think you really need to do any of this. I don't think it's necessary. I think that if you want it to be more accurate, then sure.
There's things you could do to make it more accurate, that's for sure, but I mean, it's a nice figure out of the box, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I think is worth pointing out, is that it's not really necessary. Although definitely worthwhile. Because you can pick up one of these bodies for about £20-25 and it's significantly better than the stock one. So
I know you still like these hands, but I reckon one day you should maybe upgrade those a little bit.
I've got a bunch of the good thing about doing this video is that I've got a bunch of hands from all these bodies now, so I do have some good hands.
That's good. But
they're fine.
but they could be better. You know, when he's gripping that knife, there's an intensity to the grip. You can see the bone, you can see the veins. He's holding onto it like for dear life because he wants to stab the hell out of people. And
yeah,
that's all that is.
You are absolutely correct.
His hands should look evil.
I do think that's a very minor detail that, personally, for me, is not an important one. I think that the hands are more than adequate. I don't feel like I really need to replace them. Obviously, if you want, you know, that depends on your outlook.
Yeah, it's just all the little details come together at the end of the day to create the overall look. It's just like the boots have to be right, the hands, you know, nice, should look nice and evil. And what, are you ever going to do any weathering at all to this?
Not really, no. I think I'm just happy with it as is.
Yeah. There's not much for everyone.
You know what? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Halloween. I've loved Halloween, the movie, since I was probably about 11 or 12. So I've been a long time fan, but I'm not as obsessed as you are. You've been a
fan longer than me.
Well, to be honest, I probably have, because I've, you know, like I said,
it was the Rob Zombie film that got me into it.
Oh, I mean, it was the original that got me into it. It was my shout out to Jeff. Hopefully he's watching this. Shout out to Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, it was Jeff who got me into it.
Jefferson.
My cousin. He's your age, so for those who don't know, I'm 7 years younger than Dean. Yep. So my older cousin, he was what got me into it. So I've been a long time fan, but I'm not as obsessed isn't the right word. I'm just not as
big a fan as me.
No, I'm not. Absolutely, I'm not. And I don't care quite as much about.
But I'm sure a lot of you guys do, so we've given you pretty much all the info you need.
Yes, yeah.
To get the job done.
If you're looking to replace the body on your Tots Myers, hopefully we've been informative.
Yeah, man. Looks good.
And shown you a couple of different options.
Nice little upgrade.
I think this is the best one, but let us know in the comments. Let us know which body you think is the best.
Yeah, guys, give us your feedback.
If you've bought a different body that you think is better than any of the ones that we've used, let us know.
Let us know.
I'm interested.
Cool. Was that everything?
I think that's pretty much it.
Alright, guys.
We'll wrap it up.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like on it if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram as well at the Figure Pit with the bell action. And we'll be back with you soon with more videos. Alright, take it easy, guys. Bye bye.